We have more information about an oil well that hurt 6 people after exploding. According to Reno Fire Chief John Bradford, 4 of the 6 people injured were flown by helicopter to a hospital. Bradford says he does not know what hospital or the extent of their injuries. Those hurt were workers on the well, according to Bradford. Equipment around the explosion was also damaged. The explosion happened on Route 7 near Leith Run in Washington County right before noon. Getting up the hill was a challenge, so fire crews used side-by-sides with fire pumps attached to get to the site. Bradford says the fire was put out within an hour, and the teamwork between the various area volunteer fire departments was fantastic. Many other state and local agencies were at the scene as well. Bradford says there is no threat to the surrounding area or any environmental concerns. The ODNR says the site in Independence Township in Wayne National Forest has no owner. The cause of the explosion is under investigation by the ODNR and the Ohio State Fire Marshal.